In this explainer, we're going to follow a story that starts with what seems like a simple technical problem, but ends with a huge insight into teaching. It's a journey that I think really gets to the heart of what it means to create a truly immersive learning experience.
So how do you do it? How do you stop just, delivering information and start guiding a real journey of discovery? To figure that out, let's kind of drop in on a conversation that's already in progress.
Okay, so here's the scene. We've got a group of student teachers, and they're working on a project inside a virtual world. But right now, their focus is 100% on the tech stuff, the nuts and bolts of just making their project work.
And the questions are flying. How do I get a barcode in here? Why won't my audio file upload? How in the world do we get all these country flags to show up? They're totally in the weeds solving these little problems, which, hey, that's an important part of the process, for sure, but it's definitely not the whole story. And this is where things get interesting. Their mentor steps in, and he sees this as a critical moment. So he intentionally pivots the conversation. He pulls them away from the technical stuff and points them toward the why, the educational philosophy behind it all. He wants them to reflect on the deeper learning that's happening. This is the big turning point.
And what's really cool is he doesn't just start lecturing them. No way. Instead, he just guides them to look back at their own process. He asks them to think about how they actually solved all those little technical headaches. And that's what sparks this moment of genuine self-discovery.
Which, of course, brings us to this word, eureka. It's such a perfect word for this because it's more than just a name. It is the whole point of this approach. It's that aha moment, That sudden flash of insight when a light bulb just switches on and you suddenly get it. And that was it. That was their big aha moment. They looked at everything they'd built and realized, wait a minute, we didn't follow some step-by-step manual. They built this whole virtual world just by exploring, by messing around and trying things, by discovering solutions all on their own. And that realization, it unlocks the single most powerful idea in this whole conversation. It's about shifting the student's role completely from someone who just consumes knowledge to someone who actually creates it. So check this out. The mentor gives them this perfect example to really drive the point home. Traditionally, a teacher might say, hey, go look at this website about the human body. But in this new way of thinking, the teacher says, go build a virtual museum about the human body. See the difference? The learning isn't in the consumption, it's in the creation. And the mentor just nails it with this quote. He basically says the moment they are involved in creating the learning material, you can sit back and drink a cup of coffee. I mean, that's the whole game right there. When the students take ownership, your job as an educator completely changes. So what's the bottom line here? The goal is to completely flip the script on the old classroom dynamic. It's not a hierarchy with a teacher at the top anymore. It's a partnership. Everybody is in on this shared process of discovery together. Well, if you're going to change the whole philosophy, that means the role of the educator has to change too, right? You've probably heard this phrase before, but it is so true. You move from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice? Well, first, you have to create a space where it's safe to try things and even fail. Second, you have to give students the freedom to initiate their own ideas. Third, your job is to guide their process, not dictate it. And finally, and this is key, you have to be willing to learn with them, discovering things right alongside them. Ultimately, a mentor isn't an answer machine. Not at all. A mentor is a facilitator of thinking. And the most powerful question you can ask isn't, what's the right answer? But, wow, that's a great idea. So what are you going to do with it now? So, after having their own eureka moment, you can feel the energy shift. The conversation naturally turns to, okay, this is amazing, but how can we actually use this in our own classrooms? They start brainstorming right then and there, turning this theory into concrete strategies.
And the ideas they come up with are just awesome. They're talking about having students build a planetary labyrinth to learn about space. Or what about creating a whole virtual travel agency to explore geography and cultures? My favorite is design a program to help younger kids learn a new language, not just by using a tool, but by creating the tool themselves. And the mentor brings it all back to their own experience in the course. He reminds them of that traditional teacher who might say, whoa, stop, I didn't give you that assignment. But in this course, he tells them, I gave you no deadlines, no pressure. The whole thing was open. And that trust, that freedom, that's what made their discovery possible.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial takeaway.
The hardest part of this whole thing isn't mastering the technology or finding resources. The real challenge is internal. It's about fundamentally changing our own pedagogical mindset, what we believe teaching and learning are supposed to be. So, a journey that started with fixing a technical bug ended with a whole new way of thinking about education. And that leaves us with a question to take into our own work. What's the next discovery waiting for you and for your students to make together?